Welcome to the Sixer Standard with Ryan A. Clark. Please like, share, and subscribe. Uh, this one is going to be a rough one. Um, where do I even start? Where do we even begin? The Sixers played the San Antonio Spurs last night, and that's about it you can say for the Sixers, man. They got ran out the gym again, 131-91, and where do we begin? How about this? Let's just start here with this. Let's give the Spurs their props first because they did win, and they took the first game of the series with the Sixers. So the Spurs, you have sorry, I mispronounced his name. Sorry, Champagne with 10, Wemby with 10, Fox with 11, Vassell with 22, Castle with 15, Johnson with 12, Bryant with 11. For the Sixers, we had Tyrese Maxey with 21. Walker with 20 and Campaign with 10. Okay. Let's just get to it. So I guess I have to say the key points to where I think the Sixers lost is that they're just not the better team to the compared to the Spurs right now. You went to the game with no Embiid, no Paul George, and right as the game starts, I think most fans found out that Oubre wasn't playing due to an illness. So you're already down, three great players and scorers right there that you need. And it was a tough night for Maxey. He couldn't get it going. Of course, the defense is focused on him. So he had a rough night shooting again, which is starting to get concerning because he had the same problem against Boston, but he doesn't have his full team with him, so it's only so much that he can do. But that comes with, becoming a top player, and he's got to learn to adjust with that, which I'm sure he will. He's shown that he's a dog and he wants to grow. So this is all gonna be a part of his learning curve. And VJ Edgecombe, he didn't play much. He played one half. He got hurt right towards the end of the second quarter, and he came down bad off a hard foul. And there's still been no word on what's going on with him. And I'm sorry, questions are coming around saying, should he play tonight against Utah? We'll see on that one. But more key points that I wanted to highlight is, just the Spurs dominance on everything. From field goal percentage, 55 to 35, 3 pointers made, 18. Rebound, they out rebounded the Sixers. Rebounding problem again for the Sixers. Got out rebounded 56 to 40. Defensive 50 to 31. Assists, Spurs 36, Sixers 20. Steals, Spurs 10, the Sixers 8. Blocks, Spurs 10, the Sixers 5. And the biggest part of it all, points in the paint, Spurs 60, Sixers 46. And this just highlighted how much the Spurs dominated this one. The game pretty much, I mean, it was only close in the first quarter. It started off, the Sixers tied it up at 22. And from there, the Spurs went on a 7-0 run and put the foot on the gas and just took off. And I guess you could say the biggest point to me this game highlighted is coaching and management. And for me, I've been questioning Nick Nurse for a while now, and I think now the alarm is starting to go off, where people are now starting to look at him saying, "I don't know if you're the future coach of this team." And I say that because you in the second quarter, the Spurs went on a 19-0 run, and he didn't call a timeout. It looked like he had a lot of animation in the first quarter, and it seemed like the second quarter he just kind of accepted that they weren't the better team. The Spurs are going to win this one, and he just sat on the bench and just looked at everything happening. And it seemed like his emotion kind of rubbed off on the team because it looked like the team just flat out quit. Right in the halftime, they all probably on their phones, and they all just kind of probably said, "You know what? Let's just get this over with. It just is what it is. We don't got it tonight. We don't got enough people. Now if VGA's hurt, it's over." And for the most part, it just came out like that. So for me, I'm really looking at Nick Nurse this game because granted, yes, you you may not have who you need to have, but to get blown out by 40 in a primetime game, it just kind of shows that you weren't ready. And don't let this, fool anybody. This ain't the first time the Sixers have lost by 40. They now have 3 40-point losses this season. Three of them. And all were at home. They lost to the Spurs last night by 40. They lost to the Magic by 41, and they lost to the Knicks by 49. 49. My goodness, man. I don't know, man. I'm starting to really question Nick Nurse on this one. And if you even want to look deeper into it, they almost had another 40-point loss. They lost to the Hornets by 37. Granted, George and Embiid didn't play, but I'm sorry, didn't play in any of these 40-point losses. But I mean, this is a terrible look. It's terrible because the team that you just saw, and just times you play better teams, you want to get a gauge on how good you are as far as a team, even though you may not win, but you still want to put up a fight just to say, okay, if we had our top guys, maybe we could beat them. But the last two nights, we're just not on their level as Sixers fans. We got to admit that we're not on Boston's level. We're not on the Spurs level. And just to give a small example of what I mean, so the Sixers, they're shorthanded against Boston. Boston's also shorthanded, and they're in the second seed in the East. And the very next night, after beating the Sixers by 16, they go to Milwaukee with a returning Giannis. And you would think, maybe Jalen Brown's not playing. Oh, the Celtics gonna pack it in. Giannis is coming back. Giannis gonna have a good night. Bucks are gonna win. Nope. Mazzulla, great coach. He had the team ready to go, and the Bucks came out and the Celtics came out and they beat the Bucks by 27 points. And it's not saying Mazzulla he has a championship. Nurse has a championship. I think somewhere Nick Nurse is not catching up with today's NBA, and it's not all his fault. And here's why I'm kind of going with management next, because you didn't give him enough horses to work with. You didn't give him enough players to work with. So he can't do nothing about Embiid's injuries. He can't do nothing about Paul George and the suspension. But players around him and who he putting on the floor, that's people he can manage. And of course, Sixers fans are now bringing up, of course, the McCain trade. Why did you trade McCain? Who, you know, shout out to the Thunder, who I'm going to talk about soon too. Shout out to the Thunder because now off the bench, he's leading the league in 20-point games since the trade deadline. Shouldn't have gave up on him. And it also highlights Nick Nurse as a coach. How come you couldn't get that out of him? And now it questions a lot about what's going on with the Sixers, and you kind of got to wonder these things now. Is Nick Nurse the guy? Roster changes do have to be made. And another big point of the game that had to be highlighted is Andre Drummond. I personally like Andre Drummond as a backup. Um, I do think he's serviceable, but I know he had to have been sitting back last night thinking it might be time for me to hang it up. Wemby didn't even go crazy on him, and he had two fouls in the first maybe 5 minutes of the game. And that completely messed up the Sixers because you need depth, especially at the forward and centers, to even deal with what Wemby gonna do. And Wemby didn't have to do nothing. He took it. He took a light night. He only put up 5 shots, and it seemed like Drummond tried to match him. I don't know why, but Drummond was chucking threes left and right. He shot four, maybe. I think he shot four threes. I don't know why he was doing that. I guess he was trying to get Wemby out the paint, maybe. But Wemby didn't seem challenged at all. He just let him do what he wanted to do. Nobody really feared Drummond shooting threes. There's no knock to him because, of course, you got to knock him down. But I think Drummond, the way he started that game, really kind of set a bad tone for the Sixers. And his two quick fouls. Then you bring in Bona, who we all know he's a good player. He's athletic, but he's prone to foul. So right there, you got two centers just in foul trouble. Now you got Barlow and Watford in, and Watford had a good game, but it didn't really matter much. And Walker had a good game off the bench too, but it was more in crunch time. So it's unfortunate that I mean, they put out good film, but it's unfortunate it didn't really affect the game much in any way. But man, I just don't know what the Sixers are going to do going forward. They have the Jazz tonight, and one's got a question: can they beat the Jazz without VJ Edgecombe? Because you're not getting Embiid back tonight. Paul George ain't playing either, and now you want Maxey to go up against the Utah Jazz, who are trying to lose, yes, but you still very well could lose that game. Ace Bailey's coming to Philly. He might have a little chip on the shoulder just to say, hey, y'all could have had me. Things like that. He could have did it. But I wouldn't play VJ tonight because you're still gonna need him down the road in the season. It looks bad right now, yes, but the season's not over and they still can make the playoffs. They have Utah coming up, Cleveland, Memphis, and the Hawks. They can get 3 of those. I mean, I think the Hawks game it don't look good, but I think they could get the Hawks, even though the Hawks have beat them 3 straight, but, you know, anything can happen with that. But the team's gonna be needed. And tonight, the Sixers, man, they got BTA on tonight, man. That's all you can really call it. And I think tonight really, really highlighted the coaching. I definitely think the coaching was the biggest factor in tonight's loss. As I said, you're not gonna go into it thinking you're gonna win, but you might have just put up a fight just to have your guys saying, okay, when we see them again with all our guys, we can beat them. And tonight just didn't show that. The Sixers never led at all this game, and it's just really showing and highlighting like the Sixers roster right now, and just why didn't you make moves at the deadline? Why did you trade McCain? It's just so it's real. There was a really, really, it's really been a tough 2 game stretch for the Sixers and Sixers fans right now because both games were blowouts in prime time. You got blown out and outmatched and outcoached by Missoula and the Celtics, and you got outmatched and outcoached by Johnson and the Spurs tonight. So I think tonight is really a must win for the Sixers. They really got to get back at it and get this one against the Jazz. And I think from there, you like I said, you probably can get next 3 or 4. You probably can get the Hawks game. You probably can get the Grizzlies game. I don't think you're gonna beat Cleveland, but 2-2 would be okay. I think it'll be I think it'll be best to go 3-1 just to get morale back up. But you know, shout out to the Spurs. They had a great game tonight, and Sixers. Let's get back at it. And tonight was a bad one, so you know, shout out to the Sixers, and hopefully they can bounce back. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Would you guys play VJ tonight? What you think about the loss? Are you guys starting to question Nick Nurse? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you. Have a good one.